Hello everyone, welcome to the A Park channel. Today I want to share my real experience working as a truck driver in the United States. How I started, what I expected, and what actually happened. First job. I finished truck school in August 2020. It was during the pandemic, so everything was still uncertain. But very quickly, by early September, I found my first trucking company. It was based in North Carolina. The plan was simple. A driver would pick me up in New Jersey, and I would get there from New York by taxi. First impression. At that time, I didn't really understand the trucking business. I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know how companies work. I just knew one thing. I needed to start. Pay and work. They offered me 55 cents per mile. Even for 2020, that was not a lot. But I accepted it because I had no experience, and they were willing to hire me. Routes. The routes were simple, from North Carolina to California, mostly direct runs, one warehouse to another. No complicated local deliveries, no constant loading and unloading. That's exactly what I wanted. First problem. Everything was arranged, but then something unexpected happened. The driver called me and said, "I finished early. I'm not going to wait." And just like that, he was ready to leave. Reaction. I contacted the company and said, maybe this is not going to work, because if I had known earlier, I could have arrived sooner. But they reacted quickly. The driver waited, and that was actually a good sign. Arrival. That same night, we drove to North Carolina. Everything happened very fast. First experience. They gave me a truck. There was a short check, just to see how I drive. Then I drove with another driver for a few days. And after about a week, I was already driving alone to California. First feeling. The first time was scary. A huge truck, a full load, a new country. It's a lot of pressure. Reality of the job. And very quickly, I understood something. This job is stressful. Drivers don't always follow rules. You don't get enough sleep. Night deliveries, long hours. It builds up. At first. In the beginning, everything felt good. Routes were predictable. I started learning the roads. You begin to recognize traffic, way stations, parking spots. You even remember bumps and turns on the highway. That gives confidence. Industry insight. Later, I started understanding how the business works. The company was collecting small loads, building full trailers, and sending them to California. That's how they made money. Things start changing. But over time, things changed. Fewer good trips, more complicated deliveries, night work, unexpected routes, things we never agreed on. Frustration. And when I asked questions, I didn't get clear answers. I started feeling like I was being used, not respected. After first company, I didn't stay there long. After leaving, I took some time to think. But once you see trucking money, it's hard to go back to something else. Second company. With some experience, I joined another company. Now I could ask better questions. I could choose where I want to drive or where I don't want to go. Reality again. But the same thing happened. Promises were made, but not kept. After a couple of months, they started sending me to places I didn't want, like Washington State, where inspections are strict. More problems. There were also other issues. Repairs. I had to pay first and then wait for reimbursement. Parking, sometimes from my own pocket. That didn't feel right. Decision. At that point, I understood everything, and I decided to leave. I didn't want to wait until it gets worse. COVID moment. And then I got COVID. That was another turning point. Health impact. At first, it felt like a regular flu, but the weakness was something else. I couldn't even walk outside normally. 5 minutes, and I was exhausted. That made me think. Final reflection. I realized something important. Money is important, but not at the cost of your health, not at the cost of your life. Outro. I will share more real stories about trucking, what I liked, what I didn't, and what you should expect. If this was useful, subscribe, leave a comment. See you in the next video.